Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with a video in the Banner Saga. I am doing a series of videos that's a kind of a walkthrough or playthrough on the hardest difficulty for, I'm hoping to do the whole trilogy, but for this first series, we're going to focus on the first entry of this trilogy, the Banner Saga. And it's a really interesting game. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, had a good time with it, and so I thought it was worth doing a series of videos on the channel. And in the first video, and overall, I'm not going to be giving a, step-by-step how you get through each battle. It's too random. There's too many variables. You'll see all the battles, you'll see what I do and how I get through them, so you can use that strategy if you want. But larger picture, it's more about the strategy, the approach, the characters that you use, the order that you use them in, how you position and take out the enemy. So all that will be there, but I'm not doing a step-by-step, here's what I'm doing in this moment and why. It's more of, in this first video, I want to give a bit of a big picture view. What is the game? What's it like? So you get a flavor for it, and you'll be able to tell if this is something that you might want to try yourself. And then for each of the following, this game is broken up into chapters, so for each of the following chapters, I'm going to come in at the beginning of the video and give the highlights of what you want to accomplish, right? There's a big moment where character X can die. Don't let that happen. So of course, this will be a spoilering video. You're going to see the story. You're going to, see how to get through the game. So there will be spoilers in here, and in each chapter. If there's big events that you want to avoid, I'm going to let you know so you don't run into those and have them go the wrong way. And then also other things that you might want to accomplish. Hey, this is a good chance to get character X fully leveled up because they're going to be important, right? And so it'll be those kind of things sprinkled throughout the other chapters. So in the first chapter of the Banner Saga, it's largely a tutorial, and it gives you an introduction to the mechanics, and that's good because they're interesting. They're unique mechanics. I thought of the game as like a reverse XCOM. So in XCOM, you have the kind of the world map or the base map where you make decisions, you pick what research you're going to do, right? But it's nothing really critical. You can't lose any of your characters. Nobody can die. Nobody can get hurt. But you make these bigger kind of arcing decisions. And then when you go into the battles that happen throughout the playthrough, that's where the danger lies. If you lose a character in a playthrough, they're dead, right? Or maybe they get injured and you can bring them back sometimes. But, in some difficulty levels of XCOM, you go in, character's dead, they're dead. In the Banner Saga, it's the opposite. So the way it works is the chapters, they're kind of like a moving story, usually. Not every chapter is this way, but most are. You start at one place with a group of characters, and they have to get somewhere else. And so you'll be in this big overview of a map, and they walk along, and it's, this beautiful art style. It's really cool. So the characters are walking along the map, and random events will happen. You'll get a pop-up, and it'll say, you were ambushed by bandits. What of these 3 things do you want to do? And you have 3 options. And those choices are the most dangerous ones. Throughout them, many of them are laden with danger. If you pick the wrong thing, you'll lose a character, like forever, like major characters, gone. In the second chapter of the game, somebody who could get you through the entire trilogy, if you select a dialogue option the wrong way, they're gone. So that's cool, but it's frustrating because you don't always know. There's this randomness to it. So, the first playthrough, you'll figure this stuff out, and then as you refine your playthrough, as you learn it, you'll figure out how to avoid those deaths. So it's cool. It's a little tough to be punished so harshly by RNG in something that you have no control over. But like I said, it's an interesting mechanic. And then, every so often, along with these random events, sometimes you'll get pulled into a battle. And the battles are turn-based, like XCOM. You have your squad, and you move them around turn by turn against the enemy. But in those battles, if your characters die, or get taken out, I should say, they don't die. They'll be, on the higher difficulties, they'll be injured, so their stats will be slightly reduced, and you can rest to bring them back up to full strength. But you can't lose them. If they get chopped in half in the battle by a big old bad guy, they're not dead. But if you pick the wrong dialogue option when you're walking along the random map, Yeah, they're dead. So that's interesting and it's cool, and I like the style here. Again, it switches things up. It's a little bit different from the norm. The other major difference here between this and games like XCOM or other games of this type is how the damage works. And it's actually similar to another game that I covered on the channel years ago, where when you engage in a battle, your character's health is also their damage. So if a character has 12 health, if they do a health hit, the maximum damage they can do is 12. Now that gets reduced by armor, which we'll talk about in a second, but if they take damage, if they get hit for 6, and so now their health is 6 out of 12, the maximum damage that they can do is now 6. So rather than, going through the battle, like usually in a lot of games, it's you want to remove as many guns from the enemy team as possible, as many sources of damage as possible. So, take out the weak guys as quick as you can so that they can't be hurting you. In this game, it's kind of the opposite, because if you can put hits on all of the enemies and do damage to them, then they can't really kill you or deal much damage back because they're injured and they'll only be able to hit you for little bits of damage. And the other thing that comes into play is armor. So your characters have health and armor. And the first check, if I, attack an enemy, my health is how much damage I can do. It's 12 health. But then the enemy's armor blocks it. So if the enemy has 10 armor and I'm doing 12 health hit, I'm only going to do 2 damage. The 10 armor blocks the other 10. So what you can do instead then is do an armor break. Instead of attacking with your health, each character has a certain statistic of how much armor they can break on a swing. So instead, I'm going to do an armor break swing. It'll break 4 armor. Now that enemy's armor has gone from 10 to 6, I took 4 of it off. And now for the rest of that battle, his armor's reduced. So any health hit, now if I try to hit him for 12, he's only got 6. Now I'm going to do 6. Or I could break 4 more armor. And then if I hit him for 12, I'll do 8 or whatever the math is, right? So there's these interesting strategy components of, wounding the enemy, weakening the enemy, not taking them out, doing armor break, and also calculating how you deal with your own characters, right? You can have a tank with a ton of armor, and he can just go out there and take hits, because if he's got 16 armor, and the biggest hit the enemy can do is 14 health, they have to break his armor a couple times first in order to get through and start doing health damage. So really, cool and interesting battle mechanics in a lot of ways. Story, how that weaves in. The characters, this is a game that has this heavy dread, this kind of sense of like always going against the odds, always an uphill battle. And I really enjoyed it. So again, so much so that I wanted to dedicate a full series of videos to the difficult playthrough. Now what I'm doing, there is an achievement to complete the playthrough on the hard difficulty. So obviously, if you complete that, you'll get an achievement. There's an additional achievement for completing the game on hard mode without ever losing a battle. And you have to be careful. If you lose a battle, the game kind of remembers. This is weird. Like usually, if you screw something up, you reload a save and you can go back and try again. But this game, it remembers. Like if you lose a battle and then go back and load, it knows you lost that battle, even if you reload to before when you lost it, and it won't give you the achievement. So if a battle's going poorly and you haven't lost yet, you can reload a save and come back in. So that's another achievement that I go for and I get in this game. There's also what I think is one of the hardest, is you have to have a full squad, 6 characters up to level 5, which is the level cap for the first game for the Banner Saga. You have to have all at level 5 and win a training playthrough. So I do that, and I also try to do going through the whole playthrough without ever getting anybody poor morale. And that one was tricky to combine with the others. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I'll be back in the second chapter. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.